They thought they had everything under control, the rules tight, the game rigged, their plan foolproof, but you saw the crack they missed, and now their world is shaking. They're scrambling, panicking, but it's too late. The power is in your hands. This isn't just resistance, it's a reckoning. You're the storm they can't contain, the force they can't extinguish. When everything feels against you, remember, you are the shift, the game changer. This is your moment. Take it and make them feel it. The grip of fear, which once seemed like an unshakable force, has finally started to erode. For centuries, oppressive systems wielded fear like a shadowy fog, suffocating voices and silencing rebellion before it could ignite. Yet the tides have turned in this new era, an era where access to limitless information has shattered the illusion of invulnerability. The collective consciousness has awakened, and individuals now weave unbreakable networks of solidarity that render fear powerless. In societies once suffocated under arbitrary decrees and iron-fisted laws, courage has taken root. Defiance no longer remains hidden. It shines brightly, a beacon that refuses to be extinguished. Platforms of connection have become the rallying grounds where truth roars louder than threats. The carefully cultivated isolation that once enabled fear to fester has been dismantled, leaving behind a void where unity now thrives. Fear, it turns out, is not omnipotent. It wilts when exposed to the fire of shared purpose, and in its place, a new force, empowerment, emerges, unstoppable and unrelenting. They underestimated the infinite layers that define humanity, assuming that obedience could be a universal law, as if people were mere gears in a uniform machine. This dangerous illusion, that conformity could be demanded, forced, or neatly packaged, has proven their greatest miscalculation. Systems built on rigidity, ignoring the rich variety of thought and spirit, crumble when they collide with the vastness of human defiance. People are not blank slates awaiting control. They are rivers of divergence, flowing where authority cannot dictate. Attempts to impose singular mandates reveal the blind arrogance of those who believe society can be molded into a lifeless, predictable shape. Yet defiance thrives in the cracks of their false assumptions. Every refusal becomes a chisel, carving pathways through their crumbling designs, each declaration of non-compliance a reminder that control cannot stretch across a landscape as complex and dynamic as humanity itself. Their vision of uniformity shatters against this reality, for people resist not because they must, but because they can. For nothing is hidden that will not be made manifest, nor is anything secret that will not be known and come to light. Luke 8:17. Like a mighty oak sprouting from a single seed, the strength of human connection rises where they sought only to plant division. They built their towers on sand, believing isolation would hold their control steady, but the roots of unity have spread, unseen and unstoppable, beneath the very walls they tried to build. When they scatter voices like leaves in the wind, we gather them, weaving them into a force they can't break, a bond stronger than the schemes meant to tear it apart. The same pride that led Goliath to underestimate David now blinds them to the power of truth. They spin their stories like threadbare blankets, hoping to cover the cracks, but truth has a way of shining through, just as dawn will always break the darkest night. The people, once asleep under the weight of their deception, now stand awake and watchful, no longer fooled by hollow words. They thought repetition could turn lies into pillars, but under scrutiny, their facade crumbles like dry clay, brittle and unsalvageable. Trust cannot be demanded, it must be earned, and theirs has run out. The clarity now spreading cannot be stopped because truth, once planted, grows stronger in the light. What they tried to bury now rises, exposing their arrogance as the very tool of their undoing. The battle was never about their control. It was about our resolve, and together, our connection and truth will tear down every illusion they built. Their desperate attempts to suppress the flow of truth mark the beginning of their collapse. Like damming a river with fragile barriers, their actions only build pressure until the torrent breaks free. Voices that challenge their authority are silenced with increasing aggression. Information vanishes without warning, and dissent is demonized as rebellion or heresy. Yet in this frenzied overreach, they expose their deepest fear, that their grip is slipping. Efforts to erase opposing views amplify what they seek to bury, turning once muted whispers into resonant waves of defiance. For every restriction, new channels emerge as innovation outpaces their limitations. Hidden networks, unseen alliances, and encrypted pathways render their censorship futile. Their struggle to maintain control reveals a system teetering on the brink, no longer exuding dominance, but desperation. Suppression once symbolized power. Now, it reveals fragility. The more force they apply, the more resistance grows, spreading like fire through dry fields. What they sought to silence becomes louder, unstoppable, and undeniable. Their relentless flood of misinformation exposes the unraveling of their control. The stories they weave, once carefully designed to influence minds, now crumble under their own weight, contradictory, exaggerated, and desperate. Each overblown claim, each fabricated crisis designed to manipulate, only fuels growing suspicion. Where once their words shaped perceptions, they now breed skepticism. The veil of authority has worn thin, revealing a desperate attempt to bury truth beneath noise. This barrage of narratives no longer unifies, it fragments. People observe the glaring dissonance between their rhetoric and reality, and the cracks in credibility spread like fractures in brittle glass. Those who blindly accepted their proclamations now pause, question, and reject. These tactics, instead of showcasing dominance, expose their waning influence, an empire clinging to shadows while the truth burns through. Their lies, repeated endlessly, no longer resonate but recoil. For the more they scream to control perception, the clearer it becomes that their grip is slipping. Every frantic effort to confuse only illuminates the very truths they fear. Their fortress, once fortified by unity, now trembles under the weight of internal fractures. The alliances that upheld their strength have turned into battlegrounds of ego and distrust, exposing the discord they can no longer suppress. Where once they presented an unyielding front, there now exist fissures of infighting, with whispers of blame and betrayal echoing into the open. Leaders clash, their contradictions laid bare for all to witness, revealing not strategy but desperation. Hidden disputes have erupted into full view, and the illusion of control splinters as factions compete for dominance. Their foundation, no longer a pillar of order, crumbles under its own chaos, leaving their machinery disjointed and reactionary. When those entrusted to maintain power begin to question its endurance, the unraveling becomes inevitable. Turmoil within their ranks signals not only fragility, but the beginning of collapse. What once held firm is dissolving from the inside, a slow implosion sparked by the realization that even they no longer believe in the survival of what they've built. Don't miss out. Subscribe now, and let's build something amazing together. The unraveling begins when loyalty evaporates, and the pillars that once held their power start to fracture. Those who once stood as their allies, enforcers, and supporters are quietly slipping away, no longer willing to anchor themselves to a sinking ship. The system that once commanded fear and obedience has been stripped of its mystique, leaving only chaos and decay in its place. Resignations, refusals, and deliberate disconnections multiply. Like rats abandoning a vessel they know is beyond saving. Voices that once championed their cause now fall silent, or worse, turn to expose its cracks. What was once an unshakable hierarchy becomes fragile as individuals, disillusioned and unbound, refuse to bear the weight of its failures. Each departure is more than a loss. It's a symptom of collapse as trust disintegrates and the facade of strength crumbles. This exodus from within marks a deeper rebellion, not loud, but piercing, signaling that their system is no longer sustainable. The walls they once relied upon for stability now close in, weakened by those who no longer believe in holding them up. Their downfall accelerates because power cannot thrive when even its architects walk away. Dear brothers and sisters, the peace of God be with you today. I am here to remind you of a profound truth. Our existence is grounded in God's divine plan, unshaken by the temporary concerns of the world. As the Bible says, whatever is done in faith will return to God in abundant blessing. Luke 6:38. Like that great oak tree, our roots are deeply rooted in God's universal truth. Every step we take, every stand we take, is secured by His strength. And now, you are being offered the opportunity to be part of that blessing. When you use the Super Thank You button and donate $100, this gesture will come back to you 100-fold in abundance. Their desperation reveals itself through a suffocating grip that grows tighter, yet fails to hold. In a frantic bid to reassert control, they unleash measures so extreme that their intended intimidation backfires. Each unjust law, each brutal crackdown ignites the very resistance they sought to extinguish, fanning the flames of rebellion rather than quelling them. Heavy-handed tactics, once designed to inspire fear, now provoke rage, a collective fury that spreads like wildfire. The instruments of suppression they rely on only expose their weakness, revealing a regime that has traded legitimacy for brute force. Their actions, far from silencing dissent, amplify it. Communities rise, no longer cowed, but galvanized, refusing to bow to such cruelty. Every barrier they erect to isolate voices of defiance becomes a rallying point for those who refuse to yield. Overreach is not a display of strength, but a declaration of failure, panic masquerading as power. Their recklessness has become the very hammer that shatters their foundation. As people recognize that this escalation stems not from confidence, but from fear of an inevitable collapse, their downfall accelerates as clarity replaces ignorance, unraveling the web of deception they spun for so long. What was once unquestioned is now dissected and torn apart, their manipulative strategies exposed like fraying seams on a tattered cloth. The tools they once used to blindfold the masses, misdirection, distortion, and intimidation, are crumbling under the weight of collective awareness. The facade they built can no longer withstand scrutiny. Its cracks widen with every awakening voice, every conversation that questions the status quo, and every challenge to the narrative they once controlled. The streets swell with movements too vast to suppress, fueled by minds that refuse to look away. Lies ricochet against an audience now armed with discernment as falsehoods crumble before undeniable truths. Where they once thrived on the ignorance of others, they now drown in their own irrelevance. The illusion of control dissolves because ignorance their strongest ally, has turned into their fiercest adversary. Awareness spreads like dawn, breaking over a long, dark night, unstoppable and illuminating every hidden corner they fought to keep shrouded. Each truth uncovered chips away at their power, as the masses awaken to a world no longer shaped by their hands. Strength is etched into every choice made and every truth uncovered, revealing a force that refuses to break. Against a system engineered to suppress and intimidate, defiance becomes the sharpest tool. Their intricate traps, meant to ensnare, crumble beneath a will that sees through illusion and sidesteps manipulation. This resolve, underestimated by those who rely on control, shatters their expectations at every turn. Where they wield fear as a weapon, it finds no purchase, for clarity strips it of its power. Join the journey, subscribe now, and let's make greatness happen. Every layer of misinformation and distraction they construct is unraveled by an unshakable focus, a vision unclouded and precise. Lies, once formidable, collapse into irrelevance under the weight of scrutiny. What they mistook for obedience was only quiet preparation, and now their authority dissolves under the pressure of unrelenting resilience. Their tools are exposed as crude instruments, incapable of piercing a mind sharpened by discernment. The battle they initiated becomes their downfall, as every challenge is transformed into fuel for resistance. A truth untwisted and unwavering is the very ground on which their illusions are torn apart. The mastery of both mind and self is what sets apart those who can endure and prevail. A profound understanding of their schemes, their repetitive strategies, their over-reliance on patterns gives an advantage they cannot reclaim. Every move is anticipated, every deception unraveled, because their designs are seen for what they truly are: hollow performances crafted to manipulate. Yet knowing their methods is only half the power. Real strength lies in unshakable self-awareness, in recognizing one's vulnerabilities and transforming them into shields that cannot be pierced. No fear can take hold, no illusion can distract, because clarity reigns where confusion was intended to fester. The truth burns brightly, refusing to remain buried or hidden. It is carried forward like a flame to illuminate the shadows where their power has long hidden. Secrecy cannot coexist with this light, and their control dissolves when truth breaks free. Words spoken, facts revealed, and illusions shattered ripple outward, unstoppable and undeniable. Each revelation turns silence into defiance, isolation into solidarity. Their failure to predict, to divide, or to deceive becomes inevitable, for they now face a force beyond their reach, a will that adapts, a mind they cannot weaken, and a spirit they will never break. Feel what it truly means to be chosen. You're not alone on this journey. If deep down you feel that you're chosen, you've come to the right place. Take the next step in connecting with us, unlocking exclusive content, and receiving the support you need on your spiritual path by clicking the Join button. This isn't just about being part of a community. It's about accessing unique insights that can transform your life and bring you closer to your divine calling. Make the choice today and walk this journey with us. Claim your place among the chosen ones. Join now. Their inability to evolve has turned their greatest weapon into a glaring weakness. Every response they offer is a repetition, a tired routine, replayed like an ancient machine, grinding its gears, too rusted to change course. When met with opposition, they unleash brute measures. When truth rises, they counter with hollow distortions. This rigidity binds them to their own predictable patterns, exposing their every move before it begins. Their playbook is no longer a secret. It's a relic of a decaying system, clear to anyone willing to observe. Against their fixed and mechanical tactics stands the force of adaptability, fluid and unstoppable. While they stumble through their routines, incapable of pivoting, resistance moves like water, shifting to overcome every wall they raise. The more they repeat themselves, the clearer their limitations become. Every rigid reaction is met with swift strategy, every forceful measure outmaneuvered before it can land. Their rigidity becomes their undoing, a trap of their own making. Where they fail to adjust, their opponents thrive, seizing every opportunity to dismantle the old structure piece by piece. Precision, flexibility, and foresight dismantle what brute force cannot preserve. A system too inflexible to evolve is a system destined to collapse. Though one may be overpowered, two can defend themselves. A cord of 3 strands is not quickly broken. Ecclesiastes 4:12. Like the threads of a great tapestry woven by divine hands, when we come together, we form something unbreakable, a strength far greater than any one thread could bear alone. They try to pull us apart, to isolate and weaken us, but unity turns their plans to dust. Each act of courage is a spark, spreading like fire through dry fields, igniting hearts, and awakening a purpose they cannot extinguish. Together, we are unstoppable, a force that rises higher than any storm they send our way. They tremble because of what you represent, the catalyst they never anticipated and cannot contain. You possess the ability to expose the lies that held their structure together, to awaken others who once sat in silence, and to ignite a force that spreads far beyond their control. Their fear stems from the unstoppable chain reaction you've set in motion. Each crack you reveal widens, sending tremors through a system already weakened by its own fragility. What they built as unyielding now splinters, breaking apart under the momentum of truth and resistance. A single action, seemingly small, ripples outward like waves across still water, disrupting their carefully orchestrated facade. Each moment of clarity tears at the fabric they worked so hard to stitch together, unraveling its seams beyond repair. Doubt, once a whisper, transforms into action, and hesitation becomes defiance. The force they underestimated grows with each revelation, spreading unpredictably and multiplying in strength. Their inability to foresee where the next rupture will occur leaves them paralyzed, desperate to contain what cannot be stopped. This is just the beginning. Subscribe now and be part of something powerful. This is not simply the dismantling of their control, it is the transformation of the very landscape they ruled. With every step forward, their system becomes unsalvageable, reduced to rubble by the momentum you've unleashed. What began as a small fissure has now evolved into an irreversible collapse, and they can no longer stem the tide. The fall they fear most has already begun, and its origin was you. Their empire's collapse paves the way for new possibilities, as systems untainted by their corruption rise to take root. These alternatives are not echoes of the past, but bold reinventions of society, thriving on cooperation, shared vision, and liberation from exploitative control. Where fear was once their cornerstone, innovation and trust now build a foundation they cannot influence. With every oppressive structure dismantled, paths of freedom are forged, paths others eagerly follow, breaking away from the stagnant remains of the old order. Communities emerge not out of necessity, but out of choice, a deliberate rejection of imposed limits. These networks are vibrant, resilient, and self-sustaining, where justice replaces coercion and purpose overcomes division. Creativity flourishes when freed from their constraints, as solidarity transforms into a force greater than they could ever comprehend. Their greatest fear takes shape, a thriving world where their presence is unnecessary, their influence irrelevant. This isn't just survival beyond their reach. It's a renaissance of possibility. The old ways decay into obsolescence, while the seeds of change grow unstoppable, proving that life without their control isn't merely sustainable, but revolutionary. Their decline is no longer a loss. It is an opening, a transition to something unshakable and just, a world they cannot claim, corrupt, or understand. You stand as the builders of a new era, shaping a world they can neither control nor understand. Their absence does not weaken you, it strengthens the foundations of what you are creating. Your focus, sharpened by purpose, becomes an impenetrable shield against their attempts to fracture your resolve. When confusion and chaos are hurled like arrows, they meet a force beyond their reach, your unwavering clarity. They aim to distract, hoping you will stumble, yet their efforts dissolve in the face of your unshakable intent. Mastering yourself is your greatest defense, for the storm outside cannot reach the calm within. Like the stillness at the center of a whirlwind, you remain untouchable, undisturbed by the noise they manufacture. Their strategies to divide fall flat against the unity of your mind and purpose, as the strength you cultivate within radiates outward. This resilience is the very thing they cannot comprehend, a balance of motion and stillness that no external force can disrupt. Every attempt to deter you only exposes their inability to adapt, while you stand firm, your energy, focus, and vision perfectly aligned. They cannot dismantle what they did not build, and every effort to weaken you strengthens the reality you are forging. Against the weight of their chaos, your resolve becomes a fortress, unshakable and enduring, from which a new reality rises. Your mission is the unyielding force that slices through the fog of their deception. While they attempt to scatter false signals, create confusion, and plant seeds of doubt, your unwavering focus dismantles their illusions. Every step you take toward your purpose destabilizes their hold because they fear the inevitability of your persistence. Their distractions, designed to disorient you, only sharpen your determination and solidify your path. Obstacles are not barriers, but confirmations, markers that prove you are advancing in the right direction. Challenges test your resolve, but also strengthen it, turning what was meant to delay you into fuel for progress. Their attempts to deter you, to blur the edges of your purpose, only clarify your vision and amplify your momentum. Like an unshakable force of nature, you move with purpose that cannot be diverted. Your clarity becomes the compass that renders their chaos meaningless, guiding you toward the reality you are meant to create. They cannot withstand the power of a focused will, nor can they anticipate the impact of your resilience. The harder they push against you, the more unstoppable you become. For your mission is not just a destination, it is the undoing of everything they stand on. This is not merely the fall of their control, it is the gateway to humanity's next transformation. Their collapse marks the clearing of stagnant ruins, making space for the dawn of a new era, one defined by equity, courage, and authenticity. The world is not just shedding oppressive systems, it is rising into a new state of collective awareness, where both individuals and communities thrive in ways once thought unreachable. Like a phoenix reborn from its ashes, this moment signals the redefinition of purpose, creativity, and limitless human potential. This is more than survival, it is a renaissance of truth. No longer tethered to their constraints, the future takes shape as a reflection of resilience and freedom. You are not standing idly on the sidelines of this shift. You are the architect of its foundation. Every action you take, every truth you unearth, contributes to dismantling what they built and constructing what will replace it. What once felt immovable now crumbles, undone by the clarity and determination you embody. History is shaped by those who dared to believe in possibilities beyond the limits imposed on them. Those whose smallest acts became seeds of transformation. In every choice you make, you are sparking ripples that disrupt, inspire, and multiply. Like a stone breaking the stillness of water, your impact is unstoppable. Don't just watch, be part of the change. Subscribe now and let's make it happen. Your voice is not meant to be silent. It is the catalyst they cannot stifle. Their desperation grows because they see the inevitability of what you have set in motion. This turning point is more than resistance. It is the rebirth of possibility, growing stronger with each truth shared and each voice rising. Now is the time to step forward, to amplify your vision, and to guide others through the path you've already begun to clear. The momentum is unstoppable, and at its center is you, an undeniable force shaping what comes next.